Hey guys, my name's Richie and welcome to my YouTube channel. So in today's video, as you'll have seen from the title, is the difference between analog and digital consoles and why I prefer to use digital consoles over analog for live sound. So today I've got the Allen & Heath and a Soundcraft, and we'll get into more detail about which models they are. But yeah, so first things first, analog consoles can be quite complicated. There's a lot of knobs, a lot of things to take into account, although one of the advantages that they do have is that everything is on one channel strip. So, for example, right here, you can see that each dial for the auxiliary sends, the panning, the gain, is all down one channel strip, right the way down to your fader and assigning your left and right. Now, on a digital console, it's a lot more complicated. You have to worry about selecting your channel, and then everything is all here, and in the digital screen here. So, in a way, analog can be easier to run, because if you want to send an auxiliary send, you just simply go to auxiliary 1, for example, and turn it up, and it goes straight to your auxiliary master, turn your auxiliary master up, and there you go, you're done. Personally, I prefer to use digital consoles, but we'll get into a little bit more of that in a moment. So let me grab the camera and we'll get some better close-up views of these two consoles. So, as I was mentioning before, here's the Allen & Heath. This is the Z248. And as I was mentioning before, I use this channel here, so I'll use this one as an example. Down this entire channel, channel 24, you have your fader, your left-right assign, your groupings, your pan, all of your auxiliaries, your EQ, and your gain, and also your phantom power. Now, having this all on one channel is really convenient, because then, say you're all the way down here, you might have your kick drum on channel 1. Your kick mic, on channel 1. So you can just put that up, you can assign it left and right, you can pan it slightly left if you wanted to, but you wouldn't. And you can dial your gain up. If it needs phantom power, you can put that phantom power on. You're not going to high pass filter it, but maybe you might EQ some of the low out, and you can all do that right here, down this entire channel strip, which is really convenient for doing live sound, especially if you're a beginner, because it puts everything straight in one line. Now, the part where it gets hard is if you want to start setting up, say, for example, your effects sends, which come to your masters here, and they then go out through your auxiliaries, through jack outputs. Now, to send from, say, your reverb, you might have, as we do here, the reverb is on auxiliary 5. So obviously you turn up auxiliary 5 here, you then go along, you need to make sure your auxiliary 5 master is up, and then out of auxiliary 5 here, you then go into your effects racks like this here. So you might be going to this Lexicon MX200 here, and then you'll assign, say, your small hall reverb, or maybe a studio delay, and then you set your settings, and then you run it all the way back down, and you run it in through a line input here, and then you bring it down your channel strip, and then you mix it, your dry and wet signal down here. This is where digital consoles are better. So here we have the Soundcraft SI Impact. Now, I've had a fair bit of experience on this console, and personally this is the choice of console that I like to use for doing live sound. Now, I'm trying to think of a good example. Let's use effects for an example. For this console, you don't need to go out of the desk and then into an effects rack like this one here to be able to put an effect on your vocals. All you have to do is say you've got our vocals on channel 9 here. You select channel 9. You can go into the effects menu. We can select a small hall reverb from here, and this is a built-in Lexicon. Focus. Come on, focus. Nope, it's not going to. Manually focus it. So this is a built-in lexicon effects in here, and if I can get the light right, you can see you can choose between 4 different effects. So we can go into small hall here, we can select that and you can change that. You can scroll down through, you can change it to room, ambience, you can change it to delays, whatever you want. So we'll just keep it on small hall, we don't have anything plugged in at the moment. You can then go to effects 1 because we put it onto effects 1 here. I'll just readjust the focus again. Effects 1, you turn your effects 1 master up, and then you go to your channel 9, and there your effect starts getting mixed into, that's putting your wet signal into your mix. That is why I find digital easier. Digital, you don't have to worry about carrying your effects rack to your location. Everything is just straight up in the console. Where things do start to get difficult, we'll just go out of the effects programs, is say you're set on the kick. Channel 1 is usually where your kick goes, snare on 2, etc., so on through your drum kit. Now, as you can see, primary difference that I mentioned before, there's no knobs, no auxiliary knobs or anything down each channel strip. You literally just have the faders. All the faders straight up there and your masters at the end. Here are the only knobs that you have on the digital console. Now compared to the analog console here, each channel strip has its own gain, EQ, and auxiliary sends and pan. On the Soundcraft here, you only have one gain knob, one high pass filter knob, one area specifically designed for your gate, one for your compression, and one for your equalizer, and then you've got your pans and delays here. Now, sorry, I'm getting a little bit out of breath. I'm walking around and I've had a coffee as well, so my heart is pounding. So if you're on channel 1, for example, like I was saying, and you're on your kick, sorry, get that straight out of the way, and you're on your kick drum, for example, here, and you've got your signal coming in, say you've just got some signal there, just put some random things up, and you want to change to start EQing your snare, which will be on channel 2. You have to then select, then go and start changing your gains or your EQ parameters for your snare. Same if you want to go to your vocals, go back down to channel 9 here, say that might be where our vocals are. You have to keep on making sure that you select each channel. Now, that can be really good because it saves a lot of this clutter up here. This can get quite confusing because you can maybe go, say we'll use channel 9 as our vocals. We might be like, oh yeah, we're working on channel 8. But then you're like, oh, channel 9. And it's like, oh, hold on, wait, let me find it. Oh, here it is. Now we go up and get to the dial. So you can't just quickly, oh yeah, that's right here. Soundcraft, all your numbers along here. So you can go sweet, 9, select, EQ, all dials are in the same place. Really useful, really convenient. The other area where the Soundcraft sort of comes in handy is this ability, or not just the Soundcraft, but digital consoles, the ability to soft patch. Now, this sounds confusing initially, and initially it confused me too, but I'll try and show you on the screen here. If I can get an angle where this isn't going to catch the light. Oh, there we go. So you can go into inputs and VCA here, and you can select, so we've got channel 9 here, but input patch is mic 09. We can change that input patch. We can put it onto, we can make channel 25. So we can change that here. We can change what its input is going to channel 9. And we can change its input name. So instead of having to run a lovely piece of tape along the side, like here, and focus, come on. So instead of having to run a little piece of tape along the side here, we can just, or down the bottom, labeling through here, we can simply digitally change. So you can see at the moment, if it focuses, there we go, we've got channel 8, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we can change those names to whatever we like. So say we were talking about channel 9 being our vocals, you'll see in a moment it will change to Vox as I type it in. So up here, you type in VOX, and we hit apply, and then we come down here, channel 9 has changed to read Vox. So straight away we know that that is our vocal mic there. So the other benefit that I find of the digital console that the analog doesn't have is the ability to save shows. Now, if I go into menu here, it's got a built-in hard drive, and not only does it have a built-in hard drive, but you can also import shows via the USB ports here. So in USB 1 is obviously for your light, but USB 2 you can import shows through here. So say you have a show saved on this console, you can send it or save it to the USB, and then you can then import it onto another soundcraft. So to do things like that, you go into show, and then you can go load show. We'll load one, for example, in the main drive, and we'll go Friday practice. That seems to be a pretty good one. And we'll go into it. Week 5 lunch practices, and go OK. This will override all cues, so we just hit yes. And you'll see the fade is moved, different ones turned on. Here we have auxiliaries, which is saved in that show. Focus, come on. You'll find that there are effects settings, all sorts of things going on. And we can just recall that, go menu, system, reset all, yes, and now we're back to default. So it's pretty cool what you can do on a digital console. So guys, now for the important part. Why do I prefer to use digital over analog? So for a young guy like me, one would think, right, great, analog, simple to use, everything's in one straight line, you've got outboard effects, it's all separate to itself, there's somewhat less workings, each thing is independent, so you've got each channel has its own pan, gain, EQ, everything. You'd think that would make more sense for a younger person to get their head around. The problem with that is in today's world, a lot of concerts are getting recorded live. Now, recording out of an analog console is quite difficult. It can be done, but it requires a lot more effort. You have to get your outputs, whatever. This console here, you can literally just plug it in via a cable into your laptop, into Logic, which I'm running over here. You can just see it on the side of the screen, into Pro Tools, whatever recording software that you want. You can run it into that, record your entire show, and be done with it. Analog, you can't do that. The other reason for using digital is, whilst it's great having an effects rack, and effects racks sound brilliant, having it all built into the console itself saves you a lot of time. It's one less thing to carry, and especially for, say, someone like me who maybe I might do some sound for a few gigs that some SIT bands do, or some friends that might do a small show in a pub or in a bar or something. It's easier for me just to take one small digital console. Okay, this one's reasonably big, but you can get small ones, tiny ones, and they're far better. Instead of having to carry an entire effects rack, you can just take the console. Everything is in the console, all your auxiliary sends, your effects, and by being digital, it saves so much space. So this console here, this Allen & Heath, is a 24-channel console. This one here is 32, and it's about 3/4 of the size of the Allen & Heath here. So you can get a lot more in a smaller package in digital, and it's far more portable, far more useful for a young person like me who maybe doesn't have the money to buy a console plus 2 or 3 different effects racks. So that would be compressor, compressor limiter, a reverb, and maybe a delay, unless you got one that had both of them in it. It's far easier just to have the one thing that's got them all built in. So in my eyes, digital is easier to use. I've grown up using digital as opposed to using analog consoles. I can use the analog console, I'm reasonably proficient in it, but the digital console is in general the easier one to use, the better one to use in my opinion. And as for sound quality and the difference between them, you're not going to see a whole lot or hear a whole lot of difference. It's, in my opinion, the better option. If you need more convincing, for example, if you want to EQ to your room, EQ your PA system to your room. So we've got a JBL system in our auditorium here, and on the Allen & Heath you'd have to run to an external graphic EQ and adjust that from there to get it to sound right in the room. So maybe you've got a room that resonates a lot of bass frequencies and it sounds all really muddy, so you might want to take out 125, 250 hertz. On the digital console here, you can do that from inside the console. It has a built-in graphic EQ. I can even show you that here. If we select the master, we go graphic EQ. There we go. We've got our first low bands of the graphic EQ, and then tap the bottom one, you've got your high bands, and you can completely EQ your room from the console itself. So that's a really useful thing to be able to do. It can help improve how your room sounds significantly. You can also put a compressor on your master channel if you need to. Say you've got too much noise for your room, you can compress it right the way down. So that is the reason why I prefer to use digital over analog. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.